What's up, all you funky fresh friends of the internet? Mark with Cardivox Academy here, and today is a good day. It's been a good couple of weeks too. We're finally kind of catching up with the overbooking we had going on for a little while. We got everybody taken care of. We're back to trying to hit 2 videos per week. I know that's not a ton, but it's I think one of the best ways for us to balance things out. And today we're going to be talking about Bleed From Within, Stand Down. Now this song came out, let me double check. I think it's been a week. Let's see, April 14th. Okay. So it's not too long, 5 days. As of the recording of this video, it's been 5 days. So it's going to be a lot of fun to talk about because Bleed From Within has been around for a while. And the singer, vocalist, Scott Kennedy, he's been with the band since the beginning, unless I'm crazy. And I feel like he's been, if you disagree, feel free. But I feel like across the majority of the career, he's been very consistent, a very consistent vocalist. And that's something I always admire, when you can do awesome vocals for years and years and years safely and efficiently. So we're going to talk about that today. I'm excited to see what this song is all about. Now, if you're new to the channel, my name is Mark. I'm a metal vocalist myself. My main band is Kardashev. I was in 2 projects, Neverbreath and Viramia, both of which are pretty dormant now. And I'm also a metal vocal coach. I teach people how to make all these, types of noises safely and efficiently. And that's what I do. That's my full-time job. And here, we take the reaction format, we break it down, we have a good time, we make it educational, so hopefully you go away from this having had fun and having learned something as well. Now, if you really enjoy the content, please be sure to like, share, and subscribe. At least let me know in the comments below if you had a good time. Always makes me feel good. And then if you love the content, we do have a Patreon. Now, our Patreon mostly is just a gateway to the Discord server, which is very active, has tons of people from all around the world on it. And we do events every month. We have multiple vocal themed events. We have listening parties every night. Sometimes the listening parties are really low key. Other times there are like 20 people and they last for 17 hours. I am not there for all 17 hours. I got to get my sleep. I got to get my beauty sleep, but I'm usually there for a good chunk of time. And it's a good time. It's a lot of fun. So I think that's enough of that. There's probably something I forgot to say, but who the heck knows? Let's go ahead. Let's check out Bleed From Within, Stand Down. Here we go.
Army of the alien farms, out for blood, out for war. Born innocent atop this ignorance, you've got nothing to say. Stand down. Locked, stuck, and shackled to rot. Don't blame the soul outside. What have you got? Not much. No vision and persistence out and again.
40 seconds. Oh, I got it in the 40. If you know, you know. Okay, so anyway, one of the things I really like about his vocals is how balanced they sound, right? It's actually fairly difficult to achieve. You know, first listening to this song, my initial thought, and maybe it's because I've been listening to a lot of bands like Kublai Khan lately, LLNN. If you have not, I think that's how you say the name. If you haven't heard LLNN, you should, right? But this isn't a video about them. But listening to it and thinking about Bleed From Within before, I think that my mind was just going there because it's familiar. I hear a really good balance of both underlying true chord phonated tone, right? True chord, if you're new to the videos and you haven't heard me mention this in a while, true chord phonation is when our vocal folds are adducting, right? They're closing over the center line, covering up the airway, and they're vibrating, right? They're going, ha, like this, or even just talking, hey, what's up, guys, right? And then from there, above that, we've got all these soft tissues that can shake and that can rattle. We've got things such as the arytenoid cartilages, the false folds, aryepiglottic folds. Basically, you don't need to know all those terms. It's just all the smushy stuff above the vocal folds, right? And that's rattling around as well. It can be difficult to maintain both of those at the same time in a way that's going to be productive and healthy for long periods of time. Now, with that being said, he also has a very open and wide tone, right? I think that a lot of, I want to listen to this a little bit more, right? I want to listen to this a little bit more. I don't think this is the sort of scream that it would be. I am hesitant to take every scream I ever hear and put it fully into the false chord or fully into the fry camps. I think that at times can be a bit reductionist. I think that a lot of the times when we're creating distortion, we have multiple things going on at once. So it can be more useful to, rather than just being like, I don't know, fry, I don't know, false chord, to say, what's the balance of sounds that we hear, right? What are the multiple sounds going on that we can hear at the same time? Sometimes a vocal is strictly one or the other. Other times, and I think we're running into this here, I actually pulled up an old studio video. It's like 9 years old, but we're going to look at it in a bit, of him doing vocals, and it's just raw, him at the microphone. And we're going to talk about the balance that we hear. But one thing that I want you to listen to moving forward, one thing that we can talk about now, is how his voice sounds very open. This can be kind of contradictory, right? Because we hear sounds like this. And we think that the throat has to be squeezed incredibly tight. For most vocal styles, we actually want the throat to be super open. If you're starting with an old school false chord, right? That's just a bare bones basic false chord. You actually want the throat to be open and incredibly relaxed, right? So that all these soft tissues can move around. So oftentimes when we're learning vocals, we're new to metal vocals, we think that we have to hunker down on our throat as much as we can. This is very rarely the case. There are strategic places of activation or narrowing that we can use to create other sounds. For example, when we're going for like a really low guttural, we can sort of bring together the top of the throat. Oh, it sounds kind of like Kermit the Frog. And then if I just grunt through there, oh, it gives me that really rattly arytenoidal sound. Oh, whoa, whoa. That's one way that you can do it. Or even like with a high vocal, it's similar as well. Listening to this, I want you to hear how his voice sounds very open and cavernous. This is a combination of a relaxed throat and an open pharyngeal space. The pharynx is the space in the back of the mouth, down to the throat, even up into the back of the nasal area. There are 3 places: nasopharynx, oropharynx, and laryngo or laryngopharynx. Just think about it as the back of the mouth and the top of the throat being nice and open and relaxed. Let's keep going though, and then maybe we'll take a peek at more specifically the distortion he's generating. Let's go. Okay, I know I'm pausing it at like compositionally kind of a bad point, but vocally, it's actually a good spot to pause. So one thing that I really like to do is, and I really love when vocalists do this, is I like to find places where the vocals are sort of standing by themselves. Now, one thing you need to understand when you're listening to any produced metal vocals, okay, well, maybe not like old school 1990s black metal, but you're listening to multiple layers of production. Well, I mean, even if you are listening to that old raw, like just screaming at a tape recorder, there are systems that are recording the voice and translating it, right? Now, this is not me saying vocals are fake or false or anything like that. Like, I would be pretty hypocritical to say that with the albums that I've put out, right? Or that Kardashev has put out. Now, I am telling you this because it can be important to understand that when we have things such as maybe like dual tracked vocals, when we're adding a compressor to it, if we have like an exciter on there, it can change the way that the scream sounds to a degree. Now, in this case, I don't think it's changing it enough to where we could really be like, whoa, it sounds so different raw. It sounds, I'm sure I found this sound clip that we're going to look at here in a second, but I'm sure it sounds very, very similar. But sometimes hearing raw vocals and hearing produced vocals can be a good way to understand the generation of the scream and then how the scream is going to land once it's in a mix, right? That's a very good thing. A good example is depending on the type of stuff going on in the song, right? You may hear more of the high end of the scream than the low end because there are guitars, drums, bass, all these things going on, right? So in this section, you can hear him progressively turning on or adjusting the balance of his distortion. He starts out with and I'm gonna listen to this. We're gonna listen to the other clip, and then I'll take my own shot at it. This is pretty different from what I do, so he's gonna be way better at it than me. But he's slowly increasing the balance of distortion. He's also sort of lifting the pitch as well. He starts out with like, just kind of like a sort of a voice acted like, I'm pretty mad. I got things to talk about, man. Right. And you can hear that's just natural distortion. That's what's going to happen the majority of the time that we simply speak with that emotion. To do that, I'm not really thinking about technique. I'm just making sure I'm using my abdominal muscles to drive the sound, keeping my throat relaxed and projecting outward. Hey, I got a lot of emotions. I'm getting pissed. Right? Now let's see where it lands. I'm going to go ahead and switch videos here. Pay no mind to the man behind the curtain, or pay no attention. So it starts right around here. I found the spot, but let's listen to it together. Let's see what this is all about.
Look at me, the face of hatred.
Yeah, so that's definitely not just like what I call the hardcore or the post-hardcore belt, right? There's definitely a different balance of things going on there. Now, let me listen to that one more time. This is the truth of the matter. Sometimes you got to listen to things a couple times. Sometimes you have to sort of peel them apart.
Look at me, the face of hatred.
Yeah, so to me, I hear a balance. I hear a balance of sounds. I hear a true tone underneath. It's a very light area, like, wah, 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 wah. I hear that underneath, right? So the vocal folds are coming together, not touching fully. We got to be real careful, by the way. When our vocal folds are close together, but not fully adducting, at that point, we really need to keep our throat relaxed, and we really need to understand like what breath support means, not just like a book definition of it, but what it feels like, what the balance is, how it works, right? We need that, and we need to make sure we're projecting our voice upwards. It can be fine to do, but a breathy voice can be taxing. I'm also hearing a little bit of fry distortion in there. I do hear sort of a light, airy crackling noise, but I also hear a little bit of like an arytenoidal or a false chord rattle. I'm gonna hear it one more time. Appreciate y'all's patience.
Look at me, the face of hatred.
So I'm not going to do it as well as he did, but I'm going to show you like what my process would be if I was in a studio and they were like, yo, Mark, do that type of scream. And I'm like, now? And they're like, yeah, now. Okay, so it's not going to land perfectly, but this is kind of how I would go about it. And this happens sometimes when I have a student who's like, hey, teach me to scream like this. And I'm like, I've never heard that in my life. So here we go. You know what I mean? So I would probably take a scream that I'm familiar with, right? And this can be a good way for you at home if you hear a scream that's very different from what you do, but you want to give it a shot. I would take a scream that I'm familiar with, which for me would be this one. Now, you're probably thinking, Mark, that sounds way different, and I agree. But can I use that as some stepping stones to find my way where I need to go, right? So if I take that scream, I just lower the amount of pressure I'm giving it, right? I lower the amount of activation I'm giving it. It brings me here.
Right there like this.
Now, when I'm in this space,
Look at me.
I can hear, all I'm doing is giving it a little bit more airflow and relaxing the throat a little bit. That's it, right? Now, what if I open my mouth?
Look at me.
That's close. It's not the same balance. He's got a lot more airiness in it. And I'm saying airiness because sometimes when we say breathy, we equate that with bad. It's not bad at all. It's a nice balance. It's a nice balance in his voice that I'm hearing. But he's got a little bit more airiness, and he's a little bit higher up and forward. I'm a little bit lower and farther back.
Look at me, the face of hatred.
That's how I would go about it in the moment. He might be a good candidate for a co-reaction because then I can pick his brain. Maybe we should do that. Anyways, let's get back to the song, but that's where I'm going to say I would put this, right? Now, I do have a little bit of a balance of like a fry tone going on in there, and also that flappy, floppy arytenoidal tone. These two together.
Look at me.
That's where I would put it. Anyways, let's get back to the song. Let's keep going. Dun, dun, dun. There's a timestamp for anybody who's like, oh, Mark claims he knows everything. I just spent like 5 minutes talking about how I'm not entirely sure. You're all welcome. Here we go.
I see this army of the ill-informed. Out for blood, out for war. Born innocent atop this ignorance. You've got nothing to say. The town is a catastrophe. It's like coming blind to the logic. Dying to disprove it. We're fighting fire with fire. The town is a catastrophe. We did nothing. Life to deliver. Finger on the trigger. If you've got nothing to say. The town.
Now, we also heard some pitched, gritty singing in there as well. One thing that I really like about, and you know, this is the most like in-depth I've really analyzed the vocals. I've of course heard Bleed From Within before, but this is the first time I've ever sat down and been like, okay, what's going on here? So one thing that I'm really noticing about him, and this is partially due to the way that he's creating distortion, and also just because he's really good, right? He's transitioning through all of these levels of balance in his voice. It sounds to me, and again, I could be wrong, but I feel pretty confident in this. It sounds to me like he's got basically one baseline vocal style, and that vocal style is so relaxed and so controlled, he can just slide the balance back and forth, right? I want a little bit more voice. I want a little bit more grit. I want a little bit higher pitch. I want a little bit lower pitch. And that's it. That helps him move through all of these, like move through the registers of his voice, play around with his sound. Now, if you're at home and you're wanting to get like sort of a gritty singing tone going, my suggestion is start with just making sure you can hold a clean note projected pretty well, right? What does it mean to bring the air in low? What does it mean to hold your ribs out, keep your throat relaxed? What does it mean to squeeze the abdominal muscles here and let the air release up and forward? Hey, hey, oh yeah, whoa, right? That, I think, having a healthy, clean voice before just being like, I'm going to yell real loud on an F sharp 4, is the right way to go. That can be somewhat disheartening because my opinion is that you should take longer a lot of the times. Sometimes I'll tell prospective students that they'll email me and they'll be like, yeah, you know, I got a show in 4 days and I want to, you know, perfect this false chord noise that I've never done before. And I'm like, I'm not your guy, right? Because I think one of the best things you can do in learning metal vocals is taking your time. Now, that being said, one thing that you can do once you feel ready, either you've worked with me or another coach, because it's not just me out there. There's a lot, right? You've worked with me, you've worked with somebody else, or you're very good at self-teaching. Not everybody needs lessons. That's true. You're very good at self-teaching, and you've gotten to the point where you can, you know, yay, oh, and you can hold that tone very, very easily and relaxed, no strain in the throat. You can sort of start just doing like kind of a pirate, side of a pirate noise. Hey, nay, loud for war, yay, right? And you can start trying to just manage. Don't worry about your pitch yet. Don't be like, oh, I gotta hit that C5, man. Just allow your voice to feel distortion in a place that's comfortable, right? Know what your range is. Know where your break is, right? So for me, my break is around an F sharp 4 to a G4. If I'm having like allergies or I didn't get enough sleep or I was stupid and I ate really spicy food right before I went to bed, I never do that. Then it might be like an F4. It might be a little bit lower, right? So then, and you know, that's something you got to think about if you've got a show or you're going to be in the studio, right? Your diet, your sleep can greatly affect it. But you know, take this, hey, yeah, yeah. That note's very easy for me. Hey, yeah, whoa, right there, yeah, right? Don't worry about whether it sounds in the genre or not. Just get comfortable with controlling distortion in one spot. And then from there, you can play with balancing the resonance, right? You can make it darker, you can make it brighter, you can start lifting the pitch, but take it slow. He's doing it very well. That transition, clean. Let's keep going.
Surrounded by fucking degenerates. I can't take back revolving. Your narrow mind is loaded. For you are sinners again and again and again.
Yo, I want to listen to that. The song kind of drops out, those drums pick up. Listen, this isn't a drumming channel, but like that was sick. That was awesome. Also, he's kind of flexing his vocals now, but in a really tasteful way. Like he's like opening up lots of distortion, bringing it down, a little bit more voice. Bum, 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 bum. That like that seesaw between balance. Yeah, he's just rocking that slider. This is a pro. Okay, we've got a little bit of a transition here. So I want to talk about a couple things. The first is that, I've talked about this before. Most, if not all, music videos you ever see are lip syncing. And I have to sort of correct myself retroactively because a lot of lip syncing tends to give the idea that the vocalist is just going like, into the microphone. And that does happen sometimes. That happens a lot. I've done that before. But other times, if you're wanting to make the screams look really natural, right, the vocalist will actually be screaming, right, but that audio is not being captured. So I wanted to add that level of clarity because I was having a conversation with somebody and they were like, yeah, they're always just miming. And I was like, okay, maybe I didn't communicate that super clearly. Sometimes they're miming, sometimes they're not. So anyways, the reason I'm saying that is because, and I could be wrong, but it looks like he's actually screaming, right? Because the mouth shapes make sense. I'm seeing the abdominal muscles. I'm seeing him inhale, right? It looks like he's actually screaming, but that's not the audio that you're hearing in the video. Now, the reason I'm pointing this out is because you'll notice he's pretty relaxed. He's not the craziest vocalist out there, right? But he's jumping around a little bit. He's moving around. He's not having a hard time. Now, this is because his voice is balanced. Now, oftentimes when we say balance, it can mean a lot of different things. People can be talking about tone, right? They can say you have a good balance between like a frontal and like a higher palatal resonance. You've got a good balance of distortion and true chord phonation. What I mean in this case is essentially that just all of the pieces of his voice, breath support, resonance, and phonation, they are open, they're relaxed, and they're doing what they need to do to create this sound, right? He's taking the air in properly, nice and low. He's squeezing from the abdominal muscles. His back muscles he probably can feel his back muscles involved in this as well, because we do use our back muscles to support the voice outward, right? His throat is relaxed, only engaged in the places that it needs to be, mouth wide and open, and his voice feels like it's coming. It feels like it's coming from up and out of his face. Now, I'm sort of speaking for him a little bit, so on the really off chance that he sees this video, let me know. Or again, maybe we'll do a co-reaction. I think the more I'm hearing of his voice, the more I think he'd be a really fun person to actually have on the channel. But everything feels balanced, and we can kind of feel vocal balanced if we think about calling out to somebody. Like, let's say you meet your friend at a football game or a soccer game, or maybe you're doing a football game and a soccer game, right? Who cares? Maybe it's the same sport. Right? But you see a friend, right? Let's say your friend, their name is Ronald, right? Oh, fucking no. So you call out to your friend. You're going to breathe in. Hey, Ronald. Hey, what's up, man? Hey, we're over here. Hey. That doesn't feel like much. And for most people, I have found through lessons and just talking, that's a pretty easy thing for them to do. Now, I guarantee if you're sitting in front of your computer right now and you're like, okay, I'm going to feel vocal balance, you're already thinking about it too hard, right? The point of doing this little like calibration, I guess you could say, is to just kind of turn off your brain and do it the way you normally would. And for like 9 out of 10 people, they're like, oh yeah, that does feel really balanced. That's a lot of what screaming feels like, right? When I'm doing like some of those crazier sounds, I guess, right? That whole like, it feels just kind of like breathing in and releasing, right? It's pretty simple stuff, and that's true for most screams, and it should be true for most vocal work that you do, right? You breathe in, you activate, but overall you're pretty relaxed, and I'm seeing a lot of that from him there. Now, this can take some time to figure out. If you're new into screaming, or even if you've been screaming for a while and like your next scream doesn't feel super relaxed, don't be like, I'm a failure. Just be like, okay, this is something I need to work on over the coming weeks, right? Anyways, I'm gonna go back because we got this kind of like sort of down-tempo groovy interlude. Let's go. Oh, I love this. Love this. Nice. All right, so I know that's again a bad place to pause, but like, listen, if you're new to the channel and you're like, this guy pauses a lot, like, buckle up. Kind of out of nowhere, but in a really good way, cleans from the guitarist, right? Listen, I wasn't paying his attention to his instrument. Might have been a bass. I don't know, but the use of the clean voice in just that little pocket was really interesting because I didn't expect it, but placing it in that section of the song where it's more open, it's more atmospheric, there's a little bit more like channeled emotionality, I guess I could say. It's kind of a vaguism, but it's the best way I can think to describe it now. Really made those cleans work, and it was a bit jarring, but in a really nice way. Like if you're walking down the street and all of a sudden you hear a really good band playing from a venue, and you're like, oh, like that surprised me and I'm not expected, but now I have to walk towards it. Really good. The way that he was singing is pretty steady, right? It's building on a lot of foundational things, right? It's in fact, you could take this like I don't remember the melody, so I'm just gonna kind of make one up as I go. You can take that like, hey Ronald. Oh, sorry about that. 1 second. All right, sorry, I got a very important phone call in the middle of that. That I had to take. My apologies there. But we're back to it. So you can take that sort of like relaxed call out, right? You can sort of take that relaxed, like, hey, Ronnie, hey, yo, yeah. Right? That's the thing. One thing that we oftentimes forget, or maybe don't fully realize, is that singing is, now this is a bit reductionist, right? And this is not entirely, this is good for a baseline understanding, but the more that we learn and the more advanced that we get, the more nuance we introduce. But starting level, right? Singing can be approached like speaking on pitch, right? Again, that's only going to take you so far. So, not everything we do with singing is speaking on pitch, but like, if I'm just like, hey, what's going on, man? Hey, what's going on, man? Hey, what's going on, man? Hey, whoa, right? It's nothing amazing, but it's a good start. Hey, right there. Or calling across to a friend. Yay, show me your face, my brother forgotten, let me go, right? It's a great way to just kind of get started. Now, he sounds very polished, very nice. We've got some double-tracked vocals in there to make it thick, make it sort of sit on top of the mix, or at least in the mix really nicely. So I don't want it to come across as I'm saying he's just shouting. I'm saying that you can start working towards a sound like this by strategically calling out to someone once you have worked on your breath support, your pitch, relaxing. So you wouldn't start here. Anyways, let's go back because I kind of want to hear that a little bit, and then we'll probably just finish out the song. Oh, not far enough. Here we go. What a classy way to end that song. That little rest before the strum, little drum fill. Choice. I loved that. Anybody who is familiar with me and knows what kind of music I like knows. There we go. Knows that I am a sucker for good outros. Usually my favorite part of a song, if I like a song, usually my favorite part is the last third of it. I don't know why. But through and through, that song was awesome. It was really, really good. I loved the bouncy, almost like southern metal, southern rock vibes that were influencing it. I think compositionally there was a lot there to enjoy. It was definitely working on like a hook chorus, verse chorus type of structure, which can get a little bit tiring sometimes, I'll admit. However, in this song, I didn't feel that. I felt like that sort of ambient emotional break in the sort of latter half of the song leading into the groovy outro was a really good way to keep it interesting. I didn't get bored. Sometimes I do, but not in this one. So yeah, Bleed From Within. Let's just kind of wrap it up with a couple things. First and foremost, the scream he's doing sounds like a good balance of multiple things, right? Again, I would take it and that's how I would approach it. I don't think I've got it 100%, but I think I'm kind of close. And maybe we'll get him on the channel to talk about it. If anything, if you're trying to play around with new screams, make sure you understand the fundamentals first. Even just the fundamentals of clean singing can take you a very, very long way. If you need help understanding the fundamentals and learning how to make all sorts of crazy noises, email me, hit us up, and we can talk about that. But more than anything, I just appreciate you giving me a little bit of your time today. That means a lot because I know time is valuable, and I appreciate y'all very much. Like, share, and subscribe if you enjoyed it. If you want to hang out with a cool vocal community, well, not everybody in the Patreon is a vocalist. Some people just like music. So if you want to hang out in a cool community, check us out on Patreon. It's a lot of fun. Again, we have multiple events. And if you want to take some lessons, hit me up. Again, the main band that I'm in is called Kardashev. If you want to be like, does this guy even sound good? That's a valid question, right? I'm standing here telling you about vocals and you're probably like, yeah, but does this guy sound okay? You can check out Kardashev, decide for yourself. Even if you think I sound like trash, at least you'll know, right? So appreciate y'all very much. And as always, many thanks. Much love. I'm out.